Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mitch. Good Friday evening to you all. I hope you guys are doing well out there tonight and certainly had yourselves a great day. And I hope you all are having a fantastic weekend out there so far. Speaking of your weekend, I got you an update on what's going to happen weather-wise for your weekend. And we'll even go into next week a little bit and speak on a couple things. But of course, we're going to get very detailed on this weekend. We have a winter weather event that's going to basically go across the middle of the country. It'll start off in the western U.S. in areas of the high plains, the Front Range, like the Denver, Colorado region, eastern Colorado, where it's going to have a stripe of accumulating snow all the way through Nebraska, maybe even into areas of Iowa. A little bit of snow could fall in the Midwest. But I definitely think you could have winter storm warning criteria snow in like the Denver area, the Denver metro region. We'll speak in specifics on that. We'll even talk about the ice potential in areas a little bit further south, like western Kansas, the panhandle of Oklahoma, and Texas. So I know certain people wonder, why does it fall as freezing rain? Why does it fall as sleet? Why does it fall as snow? Well, we'll get detailed on that. I talked about over the last couple videos that I was going to nerd out with you guys on soundings, what the temperatures above our heads mean as far as what falls to the surface. We'll speak on that in this video. We'll talk about the heavy rain event that's going to set up across areas of Texas into Arkansas, all the way to the Boot Hill, Missouri, into the Ohio River Valley and portions of the Midwest. And then we'll speak on how this cold air will move east and that we could have a storm system potentially sometime next week for the Northeast. So we'll talk about all that in this video and get as detailed as we can. And as far as just the information that we know, if you folks have not subscribed, certainly consider doing that. Like the video if you like, and if you guys got anything that I can pray about or pray over, as always, please put it in the comments below. It gives me an opportunity to pray over it, and it gives others an opportunity to do so too. So what you're looking at here is the radar and what's falling right now. Let's make sure this is working. It is. And there's not a whole lot going on right now. If I had to guess what this cold front boundary is, it is somewhere into here. Okay, so everybody on this side of this line I just drew is pretty chilly. And certain areas, the further north you get up here, is downright frigid. Okay, but a lot of that cold air has not really fully synced down to the southeast, but there is the initial cold air boundary that is synced all the way down here. And along it, you're going to continue to have a lot of warm, moist air that flies across this region right here that I'm drawing. So you're going to get a flooding risk into this region, and we'll speak on that about midway through the video for northeast Texas all the way through Arkansas and all those areas I just mentioned a couple minutes ago. So we'll speak on that. And eventually, you see this kind of area in green right here? That is our system moving across these higher elevations of the western U.S. and the southwestern U.S. This is going to swing over the Rockies, and you are going to have some sort of banding of snow that sets up and then rides across Nebraska and the plains, and it's going to drop accumulating winter precipitation. So we need to speak about that in the form of snow. I don't know why I'm saying winter precipitation, because in this case, it will be snow. But it could be a different story as the cold air continues to push south and we continue to have some overrunning of some moisture into this region right into here. There could be some ice. So none of that's really happening right now. We do have some rain and some showers and some storms out here across this area that I drew right here. But as far as heavy activity, big time activity, not a whole lot going on right now as I speak. So we'll get this back off your screen and we'll continue to go. So let's talk about the alerts first. And we're going to talk about kind of the near term first. All right. And this area of kind of purple right here, or teal, I wouldn't call this teal, I would call this more so teal. But this area of purple right here, these are winter weather advisories. This darker purple, that is freeze warnings. This green is flood watches, and you got the dense fog advisories down here. We're going to speak a lot on this right into here. So let's go on and get a little bit closer. So Denver, remember I was talking this morning how I was really confused about how there was no winter weather advisories kind of in between Denver and Nebraska right here. But it's finally got winter weather advisories, and you do have winter weather advisories in all of western Kansas now. And I really think this is going to be due to a wintry mix that we're going to speak on in this video. But we're really going to speak on the snow first. But you do have winter storm warnings up for the higher elevations of the Rockies and the Front Range. And you now have winter storm watches up that could get upgraded to warnings, or it could just upgrade to an advisory. Remember, if you're sitting in a winter storm watch, right, and you go from a winter storm watch to an advisory, or a winter storm watch to a winter storm warning, both of them are considered upgrades. Now, of course, a winter storm warnings has a higher level of severity to it than an advisory. But we have to see if they upgrade Denver, the Denver metro area, to a warning. And some local people, it was knowledge to me. Some local people in the Denver area says that their criteria from the National Weather Service in Denver or Boulder for Denver is actually 8 inches for a winter storm warning. So I didn't know it was that high. So I think they're going for close to that amount. I think 8 inches would be the high end. So it'll be interesting to see if they'll upgrade this to a winter storm warning. But all these other areas in this color of purple right into here, that is winter weather advisory. So Denver, winter storm watch. Fort Morgan up to Sterling, up Interstate 76, winter weather advisories. Could this upgrade? They could. North Platte, winter weather advisories. And once you start to get to the Kearney, Grand Rapids region, right now just freeze warnings. So let me make sure that is, freeze warnings. Yep. So, as far as advisories with winter weather, this is what's going on. Now, what stinks is Weather Bell does not have a good geographical panel for this region right here, which really is unfortunate. You have to look at state by state, and if I did that, the video would have about 1 million more tabs than it already does. So we're going to take a more broad look at this and how this unfolds. Start off this evening, not a whole lot going on. We're going to speak all on this rain for Arkansas and Texas up into the Midwest here in a second, but really focus on the snow portion of this. So we're getting into the overnight hours. There goes the moisture riding over the higher elevations of Colorado. You got a stripe of snow moving into western Nebraska, even some more light snow returns showing up for central South Dakota, which is very possible. And then we start to get into about lunchtime tomorrow, and you're going to get some kind of intense, heavy banding that's going to get going somewhere here on the northern front range, around the Denver area, points north. I mean, is it going to be points south? Where's it going to be? Up to Greeley? Is it going to be the Fort Collins region? You could get some snow all the way up to the Cheyenne, Wyoming region, but I think you're going to get a more kind of put together band of snow into Nebraska. Okay, and there's that banding of snow in Nebraska. You got snow making it all the way up into northwest Iowa, and you got some pretty decent snow falling Saturday afternoon all the way. Okay, and there's no winter weather advisories up for these regions, okay? But you got some pretty good snow falling all the way to the La Crosse region. I think that's how y'all say it. Y'all told me 100 times in Wisconsin, but I still probably find a way to jack it up. The Winona region, you guys could get some snow tomorrow afternoon, late afternoon to the evening. So you got a band, guys, of snow going from the Rockies all the way to Wisconsin tomorrow, and everybody in between at least getting some light to moderate snow. And here it comes. It continues to unfold, and I really think tomorrow evening is when things really go downhill for Denver. You see this intense line of snow. This is around 8 or 9 p.m. tomorrow in the Denver, moving through northeast Colorado, moving through basically southwest Nebraska and the central Nebraska. You got snow that is moving through. This is around 8 p.m. Snow that's moving through Sioux Falls, Sioux City. Could we get a little snow down to Omaha? I doubt it, but it's possible. And this stripe of snow just continues, and we get all the way to the middle of the night tomorrow night. A little bit of snow for Green Bay, for the UP of Michigan. Could this little band of moisture be snow in northern Michigan and the UP of Michigan? I think it's possible. We'll speak more on that tomorrow. But one thing I want you to note is, look at the pink starting to show up. We'll speak on this more here in a second. We're going to focus on the snow, but we start to wake up to Sunday morning, and some heavier snow starts to show up in northern Kansas, okay? And then this band begins to shift south into more kind of southern and south-central areas of Colorado, if that's a thing here. So Colorado Springs starts to see a little bit of snow. You start to get some snow down to the Interstate 70 corridor, the Pueblo region. I think that's how you pronounce it. And then you start to get deeper into Sunday morning, and some of the snow, and it only goes out 48 hours, okay? But you still got snow falling in Colorado. But one thing that's really interesting to me is look at the snow falling in northern Missouri, southern Iowa. And then if you look at the very end of the run for Sunday afternoon, you got a band of snow trying to get going in northern Illinois. Okay, so how much snow could fall, guys? Well, the National Weather Service is going all in on 6 to 8 inches of snow for the Denver metro region. Okay, once you get outside of town, you get up to Fort Morgan, maybe more so 4 to 6 inches. Sterling, 3 to 4. Don't take this as exactly what's going to happen. It could buffer a little bit up to Julesburg, what is that, Sedgwick, you guys, 2 to maybe 3.5 inches. But look how much snow is falling in the foothills. If you live, I know a little bit about Colorado, never been there, but I know a little bit. But if you live, just west of Denver, your snow accumulations drastically go up with those higher elevations in the foothills. Okay, just west of Denver. We know that what Denver's considered a mile-high city, so it's very high up, but the highest peaks are just west of Denver. But you look down the Front Range, a lot of snow could fall down here for you folks in Colorado Springs. It's a tough area to forecast snow. It really is. How much snow are you folks going to get out here in southeast Colorado? It'll be a tricky one to figure out, but you could get more than what this is showing. Okay. Now you look at the blend of all models. What is it showing? Okay. A little bit less, a little bit more conservative, maybe 4 to 6 inches of snow in Denver. Okay. About the same for northeast Colorado. And you look at something like, let's take a look at the European ensemble. It does not get that close, but it looks about the same. Okay. Now you look at our folks here in Nebraska. Just a stripe of, light snowfall accumulations. Nothing too substantial at all. Okay. You go into North Platte, maybe a few inches of snow. Few inches of snow riding is possible all the way up to the Valentine area. Okay. The Broken Bow region, a few inches of snow. But basically, the general theme in this area through central Nebraska into northeast Nebraska is a few inches of snow. Omaha, you could get a slushy inch of snow. It's very possible. It's very possible. This is going to be an interesting setup. It really will. But, you go for the blend of all models. What does it show? Not much different. They're pretty much dead on with one another. You go a little bit further northeast, you get into Iowa, and we'll go back and look at Iowa. If you live in the north, I would say the northwest corner of Iowa, Sioux Cities, Sioux City, not Sioux City, Sioux Center, was that Worthington region, you could get a couple inches of snow from this event. Okay, but this is when it gets interesting to me, and this goes all the way out to Monday evening. You could get a sneaky half-inch to inch of snow, I think, in southwest Wisconsin. I would watch out for this band. You see, they're going for around an inch here in southern Minnesota, 1.5 2 inches here in northern Iowa. I'd watch this. This snow you see here, this is the lake effect snow is beginning to get going as we get into early next week. It's an interesting thing to watch. It really is. Okay, we'll get you another update early in tomorrow morning. We'll kind of give you one last update before it gets going. The next thing we'll talk about is our folks here in Kansas, Oklahoma, and the Panhandle of Texas. Interesting event that could get going, okay? We've been talking about this for several days, right? But let's go on and zoom into the Google Maps here, make sure we name off some cities. So as we get going, this is the southern mode of this. A lot of rain to the south, but, we're getting into about 3-4 p.m. Saturday. You see this pink's kind of embedded into some of this heavy rain right in here. I would say just northwest of Woodward, Oklahoma, into close to the Dodge City area. You're starting to get a little bit of winter weather mixing in. Temperatures are probably getting deep into the 30s at this point. Okay, cold air continues to sag south very slowly. This moves in. We get into, I would say, tomorrow evening. This is when a little bit of freezing rain starts to fall. Okay, this pink you see here, this is freezing rain. Kind of the orange color right here, that's considered sleet on this. But we stop it right here, guys, and there's freezing rain falling in Amarillo, up to Liberal, the Panhandle of Oklahoma, up to Dodge City. You either got some kind of freezing drizzle, light freezing rain falling in these regions. Okay, this is around 1-2 o'clock in the morning. Okay, and then we take it all the way to Sunday morning, and there's enough cold air that works through all levels of the atmosphere for this just to be flat out snow up here. I would say up along the Interstate 70 corridor. It's snow up in Hayes, based off the HRRR model. But the further you get tucked in to the southwest corner of Kansas, I think it'll be more so a wintry mix. It's very interesting, guys, how this is going to unfold. And we'll take it all the way out 48 hours, and you still have freezing rain, some freezing drizzle falling in the Amarillo area. I think you could have an extended period of at least some light frozen precipitation falling in these regions. Now, your next question is, if you're tuning in from the Amarillo area into western Kansas, the Panhandle of Oklahoma, even in Kansas in general, your next question is, why freezing rain? Why sleet? And we keep this going, guys. And I mean, look at this. As we're getting into Sunday afternoon, I mean, you're getting a wintry mix in the Kansas City region. Okay? So your next question is, why freezing rain? We'll stop it right here. Okay, now this is where I might lose some people, or some people get really and highly engaged. But I'm going to try to explain this in the best way that I can. So this is Tropical Tidbits. We can look at soundings on here. So soundings are wild. This, if you can understand what and this ain't a knock on anybody, but if you can understand what I'm about to explain, it'll really change your perspective on, and I think would give you a newfound respect for meteorologists and how hard it is to forecast winter weather. So what you see here, around the Amarillo area, you got splotches of pink, right? And then on this, purple is sleet. And then you got the blue, which is snow. Okay, I want to click a sounding up here. Okay, this is in eastern Colorado. This is around Sunday morning, right? So I'm going to click this area right into here. This is where it's snowing. First thing you'll notice is the lines start way up here. And you ask, why does the lines not start down here? Well, that's because eastern Colorado is basically on a plateau. If you don't know, the further you work west, the higher up you gain elevation. And even though you're not seeing mountains, you're steadily increasing in elevation. So you could be a few to as much as several thousand feet up in the I'm not atmosphere, technically. Several thousand feet up in the air, but not think you are, because you're on a plateau. If you don't know what a plateau is, it's basically an elevated area of land that's not necessarily driven off mountaintops, things like that. So anyways, we'll ignore that. Just wherever this line starts, that is where the ground is. Okay? You see down here, it says temperatures in Celsius. Okay? And that's the only thing that we can go off of with these soundings, okay? These numbers over here, it says 100 all the way to 1,000, that's millibars. So we base this off, we have to transition this from millibars to feet, okay? And when we're looking at this, and it says pressure here, but we can gauge it off millibars too. So not trying to confuse you, we're getting off track here. So what you notice here is it says 18 degrees, right? That's 18 degrees at the surface. So this, where I just clicked right here, you see this red dot right here? It is 18 degrees on the ground right there in eastern Colorado. It's 18 degrees and snowing. You're thinking, wow, that's pretty cold and snowing, and it is. So this 0 degrees Celsius line right here, that is 32 degrees Fahrenheit. 0 degrees Celsius is 32 degrees Fahrenheit. So what you notice is these lines, the red line is temperatures. Okay, the green line is dew points. Don't focus too much on dew points right now, which is the green line. That's for another time. That's for mainly looking at, now you can look at it in winter weather profiles. It's actually a great thing to look at, but here we're not going to focus in on that. It's mainly a severe weather thing. But you see the red line, that is temperatures. Okay, that's temperatures. All right, and then there's a blue line in between. That's a web bowl temperature, but we're not focusing in on that. So what you notice is 18 degrees at the surface. Temperatures drop a little bit. And the further you climb this line up, right, the higher up in the atmosphere you get. All right, so 700 right here stands for around 10,000 feet. Okay, once you get to 200 up here, 200 millibars, that's like 30, 40,000 feet up in the air. Okay, your 850 range, which is right here, is about a mile up in the atmosphere. Okay, so you notice that these lines, the temperatures actually climb. You see how they kind of go down, but then they kind of go up. The further this red line goes to the right, my right, the warmer that it's getting in the atmosphere. So you notice it climbs. So there's a little bit of warm nose of air. But that warm nose of air does not climb above 32 degrees, which is right here. Okay, that's 32 degrees. All right, this little warm push of air does not go way over here. Okay, I know that's very sloppy. So basically what I'm saying is the temperatures aloft stay very cold. All right, so that means that snow is falling in all levels of the atmosphere, and when it enters this little area of warm air, it doesn't get above 32 degrees. So it stays snow. Okay, so it stays snow, and it basically just snows at 18 degrees. So in this case, you probably have a dry, powdery snow falling. All right, hopefully that made sense. Just think of this profile that you see. It's cold in all levels of the atmosphere. And maybe I should explain the first one first, but I didn't. It's done now. So I'm going to take a sound. I'm going to take a sounding around the Amarillo region, okay? Right where you see this pink, which would be where freezing rain is falling. Okay? So what you notice right at the dot, it's 12 degrees warmer, right? It's 30 degrees at the surface. Okay? So it's still below freezing. So you're thinking, well, if it's below freezing, it should still be snowing, right? No. A lot of people think that just because it's below freezing that it should immediately automatically snow. And this goes so deep, guys. What people don't realize is it can snow at 38 degrees. It could snow at 40 degrees. I think the world record is like 46 degrees. And we'll go into that at another time. But now is not the time for that. So what you notice here is it's 30 degrees at the surface. Temperatures immediately drop. And you know why they drop? Is because you have cold, shallow air. Arctic air is very shallow. It hangs out right at the surface, okay? And when you have overrunning, basically overrunning means you have a lot of warm, moist air riding over very cold, shallow air. So when this rides over this air, all right, it creates warmer air in the atmosphere and very moist air. But if that very cold air is still chilling, basically, quite literally chilling at the surface, then all that warm, moist air, which will fall in the form of some kind of precipitation sometimes, will fall into a very cold atmosphere that's below 32 degrees, which is the freezing mark. So same deal, 0 degrees at the surface, guys. I'm sorry, 0 degrees Celsius line is right here. So temperatures drop, and you're thinking, okay, well, it's plenty cold enough for something winter weather to fall. But what you notice here is when you climb up, you have a massive warm nose of air. Temperatures rise to like into the upper 30s. Okay, so we should really start up here. Below freezing, you see this 32 degree line right here, 0 degrees Celsius. Below freezing, below freezing, below freezing. Everything's falling in snow, and then the snow melts in this region right here, which is a region that's about 10-ish thousand feet up in the air. So it's snowing, snowing, snowing. Okay, you got warmer air here, so the snow melts here. And this is a pretty stout warm nose. This extends pretty much well above 32 degrees. So this looks like it climbs to the upper 30s maybe. So this allows for the snowflakes to melt 10-ish, about 8 to 12,000 feet up in the air in this case. Okay, and then the temperatures drop. So this might melt all the way down to sleet or even rain. But then as it falls back into colder air towards the surface, which this is the surface down here where we stand as humans, that precipitation is able to, in this case, fall in the form of freezing rain. Now, sometimes it can be so cold at the surface, there will be such a cold area of air at the surface that this has time to refreeze into sleet. Or sometimes this area of warm air is just above 32 degrees. So these snowflakes only have time to kind of go, to kind of just go to sleep, basically. I'm not trying to confuse anybody, but it's wild, guys, how it works. And, in this case, if maybe this kind of area of cold air near the surface went a little bit further up in the atmosphere, this could fall in the form of sleet. But in this case, snow, warm air aloft right here. This air goes above 32 degrees. And then, okay, it goes back below freezing in this case, falls at the surface as rain. But rain at 30 degrees, which we call freezing rain. Okay, now you can argue this could be a sleet sounding too, but there's so much warm air aloft on this sounding that it'll be freezing rain. Now you look at a sounding right here that's, looks like purple, so this would be sleet. And here it is. There's another great example. That's 29 degrees at the surface, and you notice the air temperature increases, and then there's just a little bit of a bump up right here. So it looks like it barely goes above 32 degrees, about 10,000 feet up. And then it quickly drops below freezing again. So this would most likely fall in the form of sleet. Okay. All right. Now that I've done talked so much that my throat is dry, hope you guys understand that. I'll get better at explaining that in the future, and we'll re-go over that in a much quicker fashion. But hopefully you guys learned something from that. It's very important to understand if you want to know why it just doesn't snow. I see that question a lot with local meteorologists. Mitch, or weatherman, weatherwoman, why isn't it snowing? It's 28 degrees outside. Well, it's not all about what the temperature is where you're standing. So, freezing rain totals from this potential event. I mean, a few 100ths of an inch of ice, a solid glaze of ice is possible, maybe around the Dodge City area. Okay, you might get in these areas in darker pink. That is a 1/10 of an inch of ice. Okay, so we need to watch out for this. Could get some appreciable ice totals in this region. Okay, now as far as this cold air, we're waking up Saturday morning. Arkansas will be a wild state tomorrow, where the southeast corner of the state will get into the 80s, and then the Ozarks in the northwest corner of the state won't get out the 50s. But enjoy the warm air as you can. And, we get into Sunday, one nice, really warm day here for Louisiana, Mississippi, southeast Texas. But these are around high temperatures Sunday based off the blend of all models. And only in the 30s in Oklahoma City, Amarillo, basically struggling to get above freezing. And everybody north of this, you're struggling to get above freezing. Very cold situation. And then we get into Monday morning. This cold air gets all the way to the Gulf Coast in Texas. And, the entire country, Monday, well, this entire area of the central U.S., I mean, highs only in the 40s in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, most likely. So, look at these cold temperatures deep into, these areas that we're getting well into the 80s, dew points into the 70s this week. Next Monday won't get out of the 40s. So, pretty wild stuff, guys. Talking about this heavy rain event, here it comes. We start off this evening, not a whole lot going on. And then we are getting into tomorrow morning. Look at this heavy rain in northeast Texas and areas of Oklahoma. And, it's going to rain like cats and dogs out here. It really is. You stop this around lunchtime tomorrow. And, it is going to be raining pretty good. This is Little Rock right here. You got some embedded thunderstorms. You might get 1 inch per hour rates out here. This rain continues to take over most of Arkansas, except maybe the southeast portions of Arkansas. This heavy rain moves into southern Missouri as we get into tomorrow afternoon. The Boot Heel starts to take over southern Illinois. You got another area of heavy rain that's probably falling in much cooler temperatures up here in Kansas. Big time heavy rain starting to move into Kansas City tomorrow. For example, some rain into St. Louis also. And this continues, and you think you're getting a break, and then we're waking up Sunday morning again to heavy rain. At this point, probably a little bit more chillier as the cooler air moves in, but we'll stop it here. We'll stop it here. This is around Sunday afternoon. A lot of heavy rain across Arkansas and northeast Texas. Still falling at this point, early afternoon, Sunday. Okay, you get up here in areas in the Midwest and the Ohio River Valley, and same thing. You're dealing with some showers, maybe even some storms overnight. Waking up tomorrow morning, kind of quiet, even into the afternoon to the evening, still quiet. And then here comes these showers and heavy rain and even some embedded storms starting to take over western Kentucky, even down to the Memphis, Tennessee region, Evansville, Indiana, southern sections of Illinois. Rain begins to move in tomorrow evening and then makes it all the way to the Indianapolis area sometime tomorrow night, makes it all the way up to Peoria, for example. Illinois starts to take over western Ohio, all of western and northwestern and northern sections of Kentucky, Cincinnati, Louisville, Lexington starts to see rain tomorrow night. And then waking up Sunday morning, it's still raining, not as heavy, but still raining. And then we'll have another round that will move into the area late Sunday. And there could be enough cold air in northwest sections of Illinois for this to fall in the form of snow. We'll watch this, see how that evolves. Rainfall between now and Monday evening, guys. Little Rock going for 3 to 4 inches of rain. Northeast Texas, 3 to 4 inches of rain. Common theme here. Southeast Oklahoma, same deal. Boot Heel, Missouri, 2 to 4 inches of rain. Memphis will be right on that line of really heavy rain and just a decent amount of rain. But we'll keep moving up here, and here it is. Paducah, Kentucky going for 2 to 3 inches of rain. Southern Indiana, southern Illinois, 2 to 3 inches of rain. And this only goes out to Monday evening, so we still could be having more rain falling. But, you get up to the Cincinnati region, a good bit of rain. Columbus, Dayton, a couple inches of rain is possible. So, cold air will move in behind all this rain, finally dry things out. And I think as we're looking at Monday, we'll have one last really warm day across the southeast. But look at this temperature gradient. These are Monday high temperatures. For example, Mississippi will be the crazy temperature gradient state for Monday. Highs only in the 40s in Memphis, You go down to Mobile, Alabama, and Gulfport, Louisiana, highs around 80. Atlanta, Birmingham, Columbia, Augusta, down to Tallahassee, Charlotte, Richmond, Roanoke, Raleigh, enjoying one last really warm day. And then we get into our last day of October, our Halloween. It'll be a tricky day to figure it out. You're still hanging on to some decently warm temperatures. But, I'll tell you what, give your local meteorologist a break for your Halloween forecast. It's going to be a tough one. It really is. But regardless, by the time we get into the morning of November 1st, sub-freezing temperatures all the way into Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana, Arkansas, Western Carolinas, potentially North Georgia, fully starting to take over the Northeast, and just a downright chilly first day of November expected for a lot of people, except maybe Florida. And then everybody else will flirt with sub-freezing temperatures. Atlanta, Birmingham, Columbia, Augusta, Charlotte up to Raleigh will all have the potential to see their first, not only frost of the year, but their first freeze of the year also. So next thing we'll briefly mention here is another storm signal for next week. As this cold front moves in, this upper trough, a piece of energy will try to take on a neutral tilt. The Euro is aggressive with this, and we'll stop it here. This is around the morning of November 1st. We have some inland New England snow falling in these higher elevations. Low pressure at a perfect track for a winter storm. It's just too early in the year for snow to fall really all the way to Boston and New York City. But we're watching this system for our folks in the interior Northeast. I think this could be a big rainstorm if the Euro is correct for the I-95 corridor. But we will watch this system. I think behind it we'll have a chance of some lake effect snows. And then we'll look at the GFS with that same system, guys. And two pieces of energy. One right here creating a lot of lake effect snow potential. We'll talk more on that when we get a little bit closer to it. But there's a low pressure right off the coast, just like the Euro. But these pieces of energy don't really connect. It's not like they're connecting. This just isn't digging enough, taking on more of a tilt. So what we can look at is that snowfall signal for the European ensemble. And there is a signal for some snow, accumulating snow for areas of the Northeast. So we'll figure this one out, guys. That's all I got. God bless all y'all. I'm out of breath. Have a great start to your weekend, and I'll talk to you in the morning.